Hello, I finally decided to make a video on the hate crime that is going on against the Asian community. And to preface this video so everything is in context, one, it is not acceptable for people to begin to assault people of Asian descent. No matter how they feel, no matter what erroneous information they have, whatever bias that they're operating in, it is never acceptable for people of Asian descent to be assaulted. The second thing is, based on what we are going to discuss or what I'm going to express, I am in no way trying to victim shame or put blame on the Asian community for whatever is happening. That I want to make that categorically clear so nobody can misconstrue whatever I say. With that said, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is things led or things have built up to why this is happening, and to pretend those things did not build up to this is almost a way of permitting those things to continue to occur. And that's not what being educated or informed is. Being informed means looking at a situation, analyzing it, and evaluating and deciding on what can be done to prevent or progressively or positively affect it or improve on the situation. So last week, I think it was last week, I heard Jenny Mai I think she's one of the hosts of The Real. She was a guest on Dr. Oz's show, and while she was speaking, she issued an apology on behalf of the Asian community for being silent on the racial issues or the prejudices that minorities have suffered, and the Asian community being silent on it. And so I paused and I thought about what she said, and I was like, okay, I can see where she's coming from, because it does seem like the Asian community has been silent when things have been happening. It's almost like they just stayed on the sidelines, like, oh, this doesn't concern us, it doesn't affect us, so we're just going to stay silent. So it's almost like some people do not see them as part of the brotherhood fight against institutional racism. It's almost like, oh, they're on the side. They act like they're not affected by it. So maybe some people have had that mindset. I don't know. Well, obviously. And if you really look at it, the Asian community is actually integrated in I will speak for the black community. They are integrated in the black community. Go to any black neighborhood, especially in the East Coast. You see Chinese restaurants, that's where every person goes to get their cheap food. You will see dry cleaning, and it's predominantly Asian owned. So it's almost like they're accepted, they're involved in the black community, but somehow they've isolated from being part of the fight for the cause. And so maybe that has marginalized them in the mind of some people. That has separated them, like, oh yeah, even though you're part of us, you're not really part of us, you're over on that side. That could be it. But to understand why that mindset exists, the Asian culture is a collectivist culture. So and an American culture is an individualistic culture. So there are two different value systems that operate in the two cultures. So it's almost like melding the two is virtually impossible. You can't really marry the two together completely. There's always going to be a separation. So that probably influences why they have separated. And then, of course, without mentioning anybody's name, some influential people have actively maligned the Asian community, especially with COVID, using making it seem like the Asian community is guilty of COVID. And so people who have shallow minds or people who are not necessarily informed, who will take something hook, line, and sinker, will hear this influential person making such inflammatory statements and bloop, they just swallow hook, line, and sinker. So, not saying they are justified in what they're doing, but these are some things that influence people. Because look at it. Someone who has never been to China, the only knowledge they have of people of China is based on the stereotypes that they encounter, is based on the people they see, their experiences of what they have heard. And that's what they base their heuristic on. So, yes, you can say, oh, there's Google, oh, go inform yourself. Like, yeah, how many times do we really go inform and educate ourselves on things that we have stereotyped ourselves on? You have to be intentionally willing to enlighten yourself. And someone who's racially biased, are they really looking to unbias themselves by going online to educate themselves? Most probably not. And so every stereotype that they have, every prejudice they have, is built on misinformation that has been perpetuated by the media and the various outlets. So at this point where we are how do we move forward? I suggest that yes, there has to be a continuous conversation about this, but the Asian community too should not only speak against it, but there should be an outreach of the Asian community into the minority agenda, so people can see that, oh, you know what? They are our allies. They are not just isolated in a corner. They are part of us. We are in this fight against institutional racism. They're not just there separate. There should be some involvement. Yes, the Asian community is in the Black community enough to make money off of us. We are making money off of the various fast foods that are in the Black community and the various dry cleaning restaurants. Well, then get involved in our causes as well. Again, I'm not saying because they are not actively involved, so that's the reason why they should be experience this, what is going on right now, this hate that is going on. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying to move forward, yes, some ignorant people need to be educated, and part of the education is information. It's showing them that, oh, an Asian person is not the stereotype I see on TV. An Asian person is not the stereotype these influential people have made them out to be. An Asian person is just like me. An Asian person is similar to me. They just have different physicalities, but they're the same as I am. The only way that can happen is when the Asian community get involved. If you fight my fight, you are my friend. If you're silent when I'm being killed, you can't blame me for thinking otherwise. So that's one thing I think needs to happen. And of course, conversation. Obviously, this conversation needs to go on, and it needs to happen, which is what we are doing right now. Because some ignorant people need to be enlightened. We can't blame that. We can't just keep saying, oh, the ignorant person should have the responsibility to rise up and inform themselves. That's why they are ignorant. They don't know they should do that. So we who know better should inform them, educate them, and be the positive influence to eradicate this bias and this ignorance that is going on. The people thinking that, oh, an Asian person is the enemy, that I can just walk across the street and go punch this person. That is gross ignorance. That is gross stupidity. But that gross stupidity is not just going to vanish away. Some people may not say it, they may not act on it, but they are festering in it and passing it on to their kin, to their children. But when we address it, when the communities integrate, or hopefully integrate, it should be able to achieve a positive effect. This is just my opinion, which I'm entitled to.